All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Funder Showcase. Really thrilled to have you all with us here today. A huge thank you to SOCAP for allowing us to be part of this, as well as to our partner, JPMorgan, for sharing the stage with us. I'm Akobe Sandy. I'm head of the first fund at MassMutual. Before we dive in, I just want to provide some quick context on MassMutual. For more than 173 years, we've been guided by one purpose. We help people secure their financial future, and we help them protect the ones they love. And as a mutual company, we operate for the benefit of our policyholders and our members who are our owners. And this allows us to manage the company from a standpoint of their long-term interests. And as a mutual company, we embody a commitment to shared prosperity so that we can see the expansion of economic opportunity for all. But we know that shared prosperity fails to show up in the broader marketplace. And the data shows us this. Only 4.1% of venture funding has gone to diverse founders. And similarly, venture funds led by diverse managers fail to raise capital, so much that only 5% of VC funds are managed by diverse GPs. These aren't just disappointing stats. This is a missed opportunity for innovation and for growth. Make sure I'm going. And when we consistently fail to fund across the entrepreneurial ecosystem, we ultimately weaken our economic resilience. By allowing these gaps to persist, we risk perpetuating cycles of inequality and instability. And 2020 really framed this for us. It's not just a social issue. For us as investors, capital inequality creates systemic risks that limits innovation and perpetuates inefficiencies in the market. So how do we, as MassMutual, respond to this challenge? One way that we're investing our $500 billion of assets is by the launch of our first fund initiative. And this is to tackle capital inequality within venture. Our goal was clear. We're backing managers with a differentiated investment thesis, differentiated networks and skills, which in turn allows them to drive better performance and more competitive returns. We see opportunity investing in managers that are systemically overlooked by traditional financial institutions. And I'm glad to say we are just getting started. And we've made some real progress since we made our first investment in 2021. Since that time, we've committed more than $93 million across 12 managers. And while we're still early in our demonstration, I'm proud to say that the first one is already seeing success. 73% of our managers are Black, Latinx, or Indigenous, and of the $93 million that we've committed, 43% of our capital has gone to female-led funds, and 57% of our capital has gone to funds that are based in non-venture hubs. So we feel that these funds better capture the economic promise of our country when we compare it across demographic makeup and also across geography. But let's really be clear about the current macro environment. The market for VC fundraising has cooled significantly since 2022. And within that, large established funds are really dominating capital flows and getting all the attention, while small funds really are facing some fundraising challenges. And this is even more stark when you think about the fact that diverse managers really are concentrated in this smaller set. But there's hope. That's why we're here today, right? There's hope. And so what that hope is based off of the fact that there are 4 remarkable funds that you're going to hear from the MassMutual side. They're covering the entire venture continuum from all across company maturity stage, and they're really shaping innovation in various sectors from healthcare to fintech to food and agriculture. So as you hear from these funds today, I encourage all of you to think about the future that we are building. We're helping to drive a different venture ecosystem, one that's more innovative and one that's more expansive. And if you're early on this journey, I think there's a couple of things that you can do. You can engage with other funds that might be in this room or some of the managers that you see, or you can come talk to us and other LPs so that you can learn how to gain your exposure in this asset class. At MassMutual, mutuality drives everything that we do. But let's work together to build an economy where capital is allocated equitably and where each other's well-being benefits us all. Thank you all.
I'm a little shorter than him. Hi, everybody. I am Stacy Brown-Philpott, the co-founder and managing partner at Cherry Rock Capital. I stand in front of you with 20 years of experience, here we go, in Silicon Valley as an investor, operator, and board member. I was the CEO of TaskRabbit, where I grew the business from $1 to $100 million, and we had a successful sale to IKEA. And I'm a board member of some large public companies like StockX, HP, and Nordstrom. Sorry, StockX is not public yet. And private companies like Noom and Joy. And lastly, I'm an investor. I helped co-found the SoftBank Opportunity Fund and more recently served as an advisor to General Catalyst. I bring all of this experience to starting Cherry Rock, which is a firm that we believe is going to change the face of wealth creation. So let's talk a little bit about what change we need. Black and Latina founders generate 30% higher returns compared to white founders, but only receive $35 million less in investing over the life cycle of the company. Black and Latina founders are 11 times more likely to build a billion-dollar company than the average venture-backed company. Yet, they only receive 0.5% of all venture funding. That's a problem. And that's the challenge and the opportunity that we see at Cherry Rock Capital that we're going to solve. So let's talk about our strategy. We're a Series A, Series B stage venture firm focused on investing in Black and Latina founders, where we lead rounds to help them build their business, not just with capital, but with resources. We've got a team. Krista Williams, Seda Howard, Adriana Samaniego, and I have built a team with over 60 years of experience as operators and investors. And we invest across all sectors of software in the US. We have a seasoned group of top-tier LPs that you'll see here, and we have a very active group of co-investors who are ready to invest with us beyond the Series A and Series B stage so that we can ensure that the companies that we back can make it through and achieve those billion-dollar outcomes. We've got a significant lead already, a head start. And that head start really starts with the fact that we've already invested over $150 million in 90 companies led by Black and Latina entrepreneurs. We have a proven success in competing for deals and leading rounds, and we've been able to make sure that the companies that we back have the follow-on capital. So several of the companies you see on this list that we've already invested in, Brex, Cityblock, and Isuzu, have achieved those billion-dollar outcomes. We also have a very unique network. We've built relationships with over 100 of the top seed and pre-seed funds that are very excited to share with us their deals. We've also cultivated real deep relationships with founders of successful companies in the tech ecosystem broadly and in the diverse tech ecosystem more narrowly, so that we can expand the way that we source, see, and invest in high-quality deals. And lastly, we've been investors. I'm an LP in some of these funds that you see at the bottom of the list, including Sequoia and Lightspeed. So we've built real strong relationships with the later stage funds that will be follow-on investors and are excited to see deals from Cherry Rock. To add to our network and to our head start, we've got a curated list of advisors who I'm so proud to be a part of the Cherry Rock journey. These are seasoned industry titans. In the top left there, you'll see Malcolm Robinson, who's the head of the Black Venture Capital Consortium, who helps bring data and rigor to how we think about investing and finding the best deals. Next to him, you see Sheryl Sandberg, who's been a friend and a mentor of mine for over 20 years, and also brings that operating experience and that business acumen to our portfolio companies. And then down at the bottom right, you see Jules Maltz, who's from IVP, where my partner Seda Howard worked for 9 years. He's been an investor for over 20 years and is someone who not only helps us think about how to build the firm, but they're also an LP in our fund. So with this group, we're poised to not only identify, source, but also win the best deals and create the kind of impact that we want to create. With that, we're deploying capital. We have a target fundraise of $200 million. You can see here our friends at MassMutual that Akobe just talked about are among our list of LPs, including Ford Foundation and Goldman Sachs. We are constructing a portfolio of 12 to 15 companies and with an average check size of $7 to $10 million. And instead of rattling off the numbers, I want to talk about one of our portfolio companies, Vitable Health. So Vitable is a company that sells affordable insurance plans to small businesses who often employ underinsured workers. These are people who are typically hourly workers who don't always have enough. They make too much money to qualify for Medicaid, but don't have enough money at the end of their budget to afford traditional health insurance. And so Vitable sets up a marketplace where you can get access to preventative care on site or through a location or virtual, so that you can get the health care that you need. There are tens of millions of people in our country today who face this issue, and Vitable has already been able to subscribe 3.2 million patients and have a 98% utilization rate. We love this company because Joseph, who founded the company, has something called founder market fit, which we like to see. He's a Kenyan-born immigrant who watched his parents build a small business and struggle with lots of things, including access to good health care. So he started this company to solve this problem and grew the business to several $1 million in just a few years. We are so proud of him and so excited to be on the journey with Joseph and so many others like him in our portfolio. I can't wait to tell you more as we build from Fund 1 in all of the companies that we are going to back. But I'm going to end with an appendix. I hear people like data at this conference, so just in case you wanted to know, we've got all of our footnotes. But more importantly, you can get in touch with us, hello@cherryrockcapital.com, and I will also be here for the reception. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Lo Tony, and I'm the founding managing partner of Plexo Capital. And I am going to, I think if we get started with the next slide, I won't get an opportunity to talk a little bit about who I am. I am a former investor. Most recently, before Plexo Capital, I was on the investment team as a partner with GV, which is short for Google Ventures. So at GV, I started in about 2015, and one of the things that Larry and Sergey, the founders of Google, wanted us to do at GV was deploy more capital. They were very happy with everything that we were doing to be able to, in their words, give back to the ecosystem by funding the next generation of entrepreneurs. So one of the things that we decided to do was try to identify how are we going to find some of the most amazing deal flow that other folks are not seeing, especially at the early stage. And that's where Plexo Capital comes in. So what is Plexo Capital? Plexo Capital is an investment management firm focused on venture capital. It started out with this idea that I had. Now I'll go back to the story of GV. So the way that we decided to get access to more deal flow was by trying to identify general partners of venture capital firms that had access to unique networks. And one of the theses that we had after spending time with some Black general partners was that not only did they have access to the traditional Sand Hill Road network, but they also had access to a dramatically different network that when we went at GV and compared those companies to the companies in our own database, we saw that, wow, there was an opportunity to be able to generate some nice returns. The light bulb went off for me in February of 2016, and I said, hey, you know, I think I can actually create a model around what we found as being successful, because we had invested as a limited partner at GV into some of these, into 5 Black general partners. And I got the green light to be able to explore what Plexo Capital could be. And I came up with a strategy. It's really simple. There's just 3 things that we do. We invest as an LP into early stage venture capital funds. I expanded it to include women and other people of color. And really, we get folks from all over the world now. And as a result of investing as an LP, we get access to their deal flow, just like we did at GV. And that lets us also invest directly out of the same vehicle. And everyone talks about liquidity within our space. So we've also identified another opportunity that helps us from our network, which is secondaries. Our network of GPs, they let us know if LPs are interested in selling their positions, and that allows us to be able to acquire stakes in firms that have portfolios with companies that we love, while at the same time being able to have access to them. We've made 53 LP investments across 35 companies, and 19 of those are first-time funds. We have amazing limited partners, including Google and, of course, MassMutual, Ford Foundation, Hampton University. Our database is one of the things that really is a secret weapon for us. We track over 1,700 firms. We've talked to over 650 to get down to those 35 firms. We've got an amazing network of GPs with a lot of brands and logos that are likely well known. And our selection process has led us to be a first LP in base 10 partners. We were actually one of the first 5 LPs to verbally commit, the first Black GP on the Midas list. Steve Jang at Kindred also made the Midas list. And Charles Hudson at Precursor Ventures, another Plexo Capital GP, is on the Midas Brink list. So our process works and it's scalable. We've got a great platform, including GPX, which is a program that I can best describe as a Y Combinator for GPs, helping them understand how to start their firms, fundraise, as well as manage their funds. And through our efforts, we've helped them raise over $30 million in institutional capital. So we're in the process of raising 2 products, our flagship fund at $75 million, and a new fund focused on that GPX strategy that'll be around Fund 1s, those small 30 million and less funds that are really just getting started and just starting to raise institutional capital. That's where we can do our best work by selecting them and getting them to the point of raising great funds. We'll have 25 million allocated for that fund. So in total, it'll be $100 million across both vehicles. Thanks so much for your time.
Hello, I'm Nora Cadena, and I lead Supply Chain Capital, an early-stage venture capital firm focused on investing in technology across the food and ag supply chain. Now, food is a $10 trillion global industry, and according to the World Health Organization, the costs associated with the food system are also $10 trillion. the technology is outdated across the supply chain and creates an opportunity for investment. There you go. Our thesis cuts across 4 major investment pillars. The environment, where we're thinking about cold chain innovation. This is how we keep agriculture products, food products, and medicines cold throughout the supply chain. Health, where we're thinking about the intersection of food and health and really the technologies, products, and services that enable us to have modern conveniences in service of health. And we think about, on the value chain side, we see massive opportunity around the aging workforce and labor shortages. And for Shayna Harris and I, this work is deeply personal. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American in the US, and when I pivoted to venture capital and shared my work, my mother reminded me that growing up in Southern California, she couldn't worry about the quality of food she fed my siblings and I, but rather worried about keeping our bellies full so we wouldn't complain about being hungry. And that's the reality for so many people living across the country today, and it's part of what drives our thesis. For Shayna, whose family comes from farming roots, and her immigration story is rooted in her family's inability to have a sustainable farming business, this work is deeply personal, but really at the core, this is the work that we've done across our combined 40-year career working at the intersection of innovation, equity, and impact. I'm an engineer by training, and I spent 12 years in the aerospace sector, moving innovative and complex products to market. And then I pivoted to venture capital 9 years ago, first making investments in deep science, manufacturing, and supply chain companies. And Shayna Harris, my business partner, has spent the last 2 decades as an operator, building sustainable sourcing practices at Mars, and then as COO of a venture-backed company, helping it grow to tens of millions in revenue. Now, we made our first investment out of our Fund 1 3.5 years ago, and we've since deployed over $18 million across 20 companies. We've led 6 early-stage deals, and we've diversified our holdings across a wide range of business sectors. About 50% of our companies are building in an enterprise SaaS or marketplace environment, but we've also deployed capital across ag tech, some consumer companies, and some hardware as a service as well. And I'd love to share a little bit more about our portfolio and really bring this to life. Here are some of the companies we've invested in. Robigo engineers microbes that reduce our reliance on chemical pesticides and can hyper-target crop disease. Think about crops like tomato and corn and apples. Helios's AI engine analyzes data to show climate, political, and economic risks affecting the food supply chain. And Microma engineers natural colorants for the food system that come from fungi and fermentation. Now, we invested in Partner Slate in 2022, and Partner Slate is a company that matches food companies with contract manufacturers or food production companies, and they're really on a mission to level the playing field for small, medium, and large food manufacturers, and to enable them to get matched with a production facility. Now, we've been able to catalyze Partner Slate's growth by introducing them to every single one of their 5 Fortune 500 customers, including General Mills and Kraft. Now, our theory of change is really at the core of our work, and it's a framework that guides impact from pre-investment all the way to post-investment. And it ensures that as we're evaluating deals and then supporting them post-investment, we are having the systems level impact that we really care about. And we're able to consistently measure our firm's investments across 3 dimensions: health, environment, and diversity. Now, we've intentionally sought a diverse set of LPs. Okay, this one. Okay. We've intentionally sought a diverse set of LPs and advisors who are missions aligned to our work. 60% of our investors in Fund 1 were institutional, and we have advisors who span venture capital, policy, tech, and IP. And we're really at an inflection point We recognize the continuing potential for massive disruption in this industry, and we're eager to build on our Fund One platform to continue to do this incredible work. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Marcos Gonzalez. I am the co-founder and managing partner of Vamos Ventures. Thanks for being here and listening to my colleagues and myself. Vamos Ventures is an early-stage investment fund based out of Los Angeles, California. And we invest in diverse teams with a focus on Latino and Latina founders. Why Latinx entrepreneurs? We have a North Star. Our North Star says that this community is a source of a lot of entrepreneurialism. Our North Star says that this is a young, high-growth demographic. Our North Star says that we're entering a new time where there's going to be more Hispanic folks involved in the tech system than ever before. And they'll be the source of value creation and impact for themselves, for their community, and for our country. So what do we do about this? And how do we know this? Well, partly because we happen to be from this community, but also because the data tells us. On the left-hand side, you see some basic demographics. It's very large and very high growth. Just 50 years ago, it was very small. Today, it is the largest minority group in the country and the youngest. It'll grow over the next 25 years and represent 60% of growth of this country. It will be almost 1 out of 3, close to 1 out of 4 Americans in the US. That's a big deal. Not only are we large and high growth, very entrepreneurial. So a number of studies have been done. This one shows that across many industries, many company starts by this particular community. So that's great. Large, high growth, and entrepreneurial. But there's more. It's also very young. This demographic's average age is 28 compared to 42 plus of non-Hispanic folks in the US. And that's particularly interesting because when we look at the tech space, we see that the average age of tech entrepreneurs is roughly 38. You can see from that graph on the right that most folks in this community are still way to the left. So that wave is coming. Not only that, but this particular group receives STEM degrees now every 2 years. That number is doubling. So that's a great indicator. And finally, the cost to start tech companies has declined dramatically. So many years ago, one would have to raise a lot of money to buy servers. Nobody does that today. These are all great things that lead to a pipeline of a new source of innovation in the US. What are we doing about it? Well, we have 3 goals. Number 1, be the platform for diverse and Latinx entrepreneurs in the US. Number 2, generate market rate returns. We want to show it's possible. We want to draw more capital into this ecosystem. And 3, deliver impact through wealth creation, economic mobility, and community self-determination. How do we do this? We are investing in early-stage companies, that's pre-seed, seed, and A, across 4 sectors: health and wellness, financial services, and sustainability. Finally, what we do is we try to support our entrepreneurs in our portfolio, and we have a number of ways of doing that, which we'll get into in a second. Fund 1 was $50 million. Fund 2 is $100 million target. How are we doing? 33 investments so far. We'll likely make 1 more out of Fund 1. 100% of our companies are led by diverse teams. 29 of them are led by Latino or Latina founders, 43% by female founders, and we've created over 700 jobs, 2/3 of which are filled by diverse professionals. That's future founders that hopefully we'll be investing in. Financially, we're generating over 40% growth in enterprise value and over 30% growth in our investment value in our portfolio. We have a great group of LPs, from corporates like MassMutual, Apple, and others, to states like the state of Oregon, Illinois, and New Mexico, and foundations, Ford, Kellogg, and the like. I'm very proud of our founders, and I'm very proud of our LPs. But more than that, and this is a repeat of our LP slide, but more than that, I'm proud of our team. Leading health and wellness is Ashley Aiden out of New York. Leading future of work is Valeria Martinez out of Los Angeles. Andres Morin leads FinTech out of Austin, Texas. Maya and myself, we lead sustainability together, and Xavier is a venture partner. This team is a great team, great pedigree. But more important than that, all of us are sons and daughters of immigrants to this country. And that's lived experience that you can't teach. So we have an awesome team that we're going to be growing for Fund 2, and I'm very excited about that. And if you're an asset owner, or if you happen to know an asset owner, would like to learn more, we'd love to talk to them. But if you're a founder or know a founder, we'd love to talk to you too. So what do we look for? On the left-hand side, what we look for is US-based. We only invest in the United States. Second, diverse team, of course, as we've mentioned. 3, sector-aligned. I mentioned the sectors that we're focused on, early stage. But really, the next 4 things are important. A large problem that we understand is essential. Number 2, a unique solution or unique insight. What do you know about this problem that others do not know? Super important for you to articulate that with us or anybody else. Tailwinds, they're going to take you to where the puck is going. And finally, a determined and experienced team. And when I say experienced, I don't mean your third startup. I mean you know something about the industry or you know something about this problem. On the right-hand side, we engage. We engage with our founders. We try to support. We saw over 2,000 deals last year, and we made only a handful of investments. The hardest part of this job is saying no. So what we do is we do at least 4 things to anybody who shows up. 1, we recognize you. 2, we'll give you feedback if you want it. 3, we'll make introductions if they're appropriate. And finally, you have an open door. And that is our promise to the community. We care about your success. We care about the success of this community and the success of the ecosystem. Hopefully, one of you, all of you, can be in touch with us with any deals or any other opportunities. My email is marcos@vamosventures.com. Thank you.
All right. I hope you're all feeling energized after hearing more about MassMutual's investment thesis, as well as from 4 of their incredible GPs. I invite you to please stay energized. We're officially halfway through the showcase. I'll introduce a little bit about JPMorgan's corporate impact investing thesis, and then quickly hand the mic to the stars of the show, which are 4 incredible GPs from 2 distinct business unit portfolios, the Impact Finance and Advisory Team, and Asset and Wealth Management's Project Spark. All right. So we'll start off with a little bit more about why is JPMorgan a corporate impact investor. JPMorganChase is committed to creating an inclusive and strong economy through business and community investments, as well as policy advocacy. We work to deploy the full capacity of the firm to advance progress on a range of critical and social and environmental challenges, including producing and preserving units of affordable housing, and ensuring small businesses have the capital and expertise needed to grow and drive our economy, and financing the green transition. One of the ways that we achieve these impact goals is by investing in emerging, underrepresented managers and impact-focused funds with deep expertise and access to unique deal flow. The funding gap for these emerging managers is well documented. Over 87% of total VC dollars raised in 2023 was committed to established managers, defined as those with funds 4 or later. JPMorganChase is committed to providing our capital and support to advance the next generation of best-in-class, impact-driven fund managers. And today, we'll be hearing from 4 of those managers, supported by Impact Finance and Project Spark. Just a quick intro on our Impact Finance and Advisory Team. The team was created in 2019 as an in-house impact investment and advisory team that leverages the bank's balance sheet, resources, and expertise to advance market-based solutions for inclusive growth. We deploy debt and equity investments in a range of counterparties, including community development finance institutions, both loans directly to those CDFIs and to loan funds managed by those CDFIs, private equity funds committed to preserving and creating new units of affordable housing, impact-aligned small business investment companies, or SBICs, and venture-backable companies developing products that drive meaningful impact for LMI and underserved communities. To date, our impact finance team has deployed almost $600 million to more than 60 organizations, supporting over 35,000 units of affordable housing and creating or preserving over 34,000 jobs. Now pivoting to Project Spark. So started in 2020 with the $25 million seed investment, Project Spark sits within JPMorgan's asset management division and invests in venture capital funds managed by underrepresented emerging managers with the goal of delivering performance and purpose. Project Spark aims to support these managers in 3 key ways. 1, by investing the firm's proprietary capital as an LP directly into the funds. 2, by allowing the managers to use the JPMorgan brand when fundraising as a reference and testimonial. And 3, by providing access to the JPMorgan network. To date, Spark has committed over $140 million, and that's just the beginning. They're still growing. All right, so with that, we're excited to showcase 4 outstanding fund managers from across our 2 portfolios: SDS Capital Group, Avante Capital Partners, Redwoods Climate Capital, and Avila VC. Please join me in welcoming Debbie LaFranchi from SDS to the stage.
Good afternoon. Thank you, JPMorganChase team, for inviting all of us to speak today. You've been great partners, and it's wonderful to be at SOCAP. I'm Debbie LaFranchi, and I am the founder and CEO of SDS Capital Group. I started the firm back in 2001 to create a platform of different impact funds focused on different communities across the country, different investment strategies, but all focused on alleviating poverty through economic development or affordable housing. Today, we have over $1.7 billion of active assets on our platform and 6 different impact strategies. We've created over 25,000 jobs and over 6,000 affordable and permanent supportive housing units. I'm going to just talk about 2 of the different funds. JPMorganChase is actually in 3 of our 6 different products. This is one of the first funds that we launched in the South, the American South Real Estate Fund. We started back in 2014. And it was a very small fund, $58 million. It took 2.5 years to get to our first close, just to show how painful a first fund can be. We're currently managing Fund 2, $174 million, and we're in process of launching Fund 3, $500 to $650 million. So, a nice trajectory in terms of the growth. The reason we're in affordable housing is, as we all can see, no matter what community you're in, homelessness is growing. We've got an affordable housing crisis. We are missing about 7,000 units of affordable housing right now in the United States. In the South, where we're focused, there's a 2.3 million unit shortage, and it's getting worse. So this is going to become a growing issue for all of us in our communities. The types of impacts we've been achieving have been really going into communities with high poverty. This fund, we've made, between Fund 1 and Fund 2, we've made over 25 investments. On average, the communities we've gone into are having poverty rates of 29%. So these are very distressed communities we're investing in. The communities are more than 60% minority communities, and really in need of capital investment. A lot of disinvestment has happened over the years. And you can see from Fund 1 and 2 in this slide here that 87% of the units we have funded are affordable to families making less than 80% of the area median income. So, we do focus on workforce housing. That's more at the 80 to 120% area median income, but really our sweet spot and what we want to focus on is deeper affordability. This is just one example of an investment we recently made, and we really also like to find great women and minority sponsors to provide them capital for their investment. We've made 2 investments with this really great team of women, Elizabeth Property Group. This was a Texas portfolio we invested in so they could purchase it, 6 different properties. most of those units are affordable, less than 60% AMI. We basically provided them the capital. They're a relatively new firm, so they face very high capital barriers to purchase this portfolio. A typical non-impact private equity real estate fund would not step out on this type of risk. They've been doing a great job really performing, rehabbing the units, and they're maintaining their affordability, which is part of the documentation. These projects will stay affordable for over 2 more decades at a minimum. The second project here is with a great team we funded. Again, they faced very substantial capital barriers. Team out of New Orleans, VPG. They take a lot of different types of rundown assets, multifamily or hotels, really bring them back to life, high quality, low income, affordable housing. We funded 5 small buildings for their first acquisition and rehab. We're now doing our second deal with them. So the idea with our funds is we help these sponsors grow so they can have more impact. We can get the capital to them. They could do bigger deals. They could do more deals because we're providing them the equity that they can't themselves come up with. The bank will fund 65%. They don't have the 35%. We come in and we'll provide 90 to 95% of the equity they need in their deals. And lastly, this is a project in San Antonio. It's a refrigerator plant, manufacturing plant that shut down in 1990. The community lost over 6,000 jobs. When I toured it 6 years ago, everything was burnt out and abandoned, graffiti covered. It's going to be 50% affordable units on the, as you can see the picture here, it's going to be fantastic quality. Over 360 units being built, big redevelopment that hopefully will catalyze that whole community and bring back, what was once a vibrant community in the 70s and 80s, bring back jobs, retail, and some walkability and community. I'm going to go through really quick on our homeless fund. We're all in California. I grew up in the Bay Area. I live in Los Angeles. We have a homeless crisis. We have the numbers are even higher now, but at least 170,000 homeless in California. We have over 51% of the unsheltered, unhoused in the country. And on average in San Francisco and LA, a unit of permanent supportive housing for an individual that's unhoused costs $600,000 to $900,000 to build. So we raised about 4 years ago $190 million from institutional capital, mostly banks. Kaiser Permanente also invested $50 million. JPMorganChase is one of our investors. And we're financing over 2,200 units of permanent supportive housing with wraparound services to really help these tenants rebuild their lives. And we are financing units that are $246,000 on average for land and construction, compared to $600,000 to $900,000 that's typically being used. And the way we're able to do that is we're using a purely private sector capital model. So we're able to close a transaction in less than a month. We're able to get it constructed in 24 months, 30 months, compared to the typical permanent supportive housing, which has 7 to 12 different funding sources, mostly public sector sources that are very challenging, time-consuming to secure. And so we've really kind of taken the model and flipped it on its head and said, let's use nimble private sector money so we can do this quicker, faster, and scalable. This is just a rendering. This project's actually almost done of one of our early projects. It's also in partnership with AME, Bethel AME Church in South Los Angeles. And so right now we've got 900 units in construction, and over the next 3 years we'll finance another 1,100 using private equity capital. Thank you everybody for your time.
Everyone, how are we doing today? Thumbs up. Love it. Well, thank you so much for having us today. I have known Debbie actually for my 9 years at Avante, and she's the real deal, in case you guys didn't know. So exciting to follow her. My name's Amanda Kim. I am a principal at Avante Capital Partners. I'm also a proud mama of 2 kids. I have JJ, who's almost 5, and Stephanie, who's almost 1. JJ turns 5 in January, which also means that it is my working mom anniversary. So as I reflect on that, one of my proudest moments is that I actually got promoted the year that I came back from maternity leave. Becoming a mom, in my opinion, made me hyper-focused and more impactful. Every minute that you're spending working, every day that you're away from your kids, you're making a choice. Is what I'm doing at work more important in this moment than being with my kids at home? I believe that it is. Because if we don't have people from different backgrounds investing, then capital will continue to flow to a narrow audience only. I am so thankful for Avante's support for diverse perspectives in investing. But looking at the data, not all women are as lucky. Someone recently told me that there's an epidemic of women leaving the asset management industry. While women start at about 50% of entrants, they hold only 15% of managing director positions, as you can see on the slide. The data is even more stark when we look at professionals of color and actual asset owners. 70% of the US population, and yet only 6% of AUM and PE. This is the problem we're trying to solve at Avante. Avante is Latin for moving forward. But what are we moving forward from? Oops. We are moving forward from the same people, doing the same things, moving in the same direction, and racing to the bottom. Avante was created to consistently capture alpha by doing things differently. And we've achieved this for the last 15 years. One of the first things our managing partner, Evelise Rodriguez-Simon, up there in the red jacket, taught me is that people who look like us don't get a second chance. As a private credit fund, Avante seeks to be the best. 0 cash loan losses, 4 times MOIC in our realized equity, 21% net IRR on our third fund, on our first fund, with our second and third funds trending similarly, equity-like returns with debt-like risk. PitchBook just ranked us as the #3 best performing private credit fund of families globally. We are just in front of Apollo that ranked #4. Consistency. We have never lost money for our investors on a loan across 58 platform investments. We are investing alongside the best private equity firms in growing companies, resilient industries with high EBITDA margins. Opportunity. Avante is a recognized leader in the lower middle market. There are 180,000 small businesses looking for investment. We see an opportunity for impact, better economics, governance, and ultimately stronger value-added relationships in this market. And finally, Avante's differentiation and impact. As you may have gathered from the team slide, Avante is comprised of 90% women, minorities, or both. We have built a unique channel of over 1,000 women in the lower middle market private equity. We have closed 2/3 of our deals from this network. We support diverse professionals in all stages of their careers, beginning with our Small Business Investing Scholars Diversity Internship Program at the undergraduate level, to most recently our Diverse Independent Sponsor Symposium. For those of you who are interested in private credit or private credit with equity-like returns, please come find me after this presentation. At $1 billion of AUM, we know that our direct impact may be limited, but we seek to send Avante advocates for diversity out into the industry such that we will see real change. To circle back on what I shared at the beginning about our amazing culture and team at Avante, I want to close with a working mom story. When my son JJ had a seizure a few months back during our quarterly investor meeting, Evelise's response wasn't, "Can you wait a few minutes?" Instead, she offered to drive me home herself. The world needs more firms like Avante who want to be both excellent and make change in the world. Thank you to SOCAP and JP Morgan for allowing us this opportunity to deliver strong returns and impact for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Patty Wexler, founder and general partner at Avila, and I'm really grateful to be here today. Before I explain to you who we are and what we do, I'd like to cover a few observations that led to the founding of Avila. First of all, there's almost no clearer correlation than the one between economic development and energy consumption. If we care about lifting people up and increasing standards of living, we cannot avoid striving for abundant and cheap energy. Another thing is, venture capital is a tiny asset class. It's also currently kind of out of favor, but also very importantly, it is an important part of the economy because it drives incredible value creation. 80% of the value creation of the top 10 companies in the last 2 decades came from venture-backed companies. Why is this important for the people in this room? Obviously, one piece is that we need to create value to fund the initiatives to build the future we want to build. But secondly, equally importantly, as an investor in venture capital, you get a say in where our capital is going, and we're building the future that we want to build. Super cycles are big movements that drive incredible development and economic movement. Never have we seen one as big as the super cycle that is driven by climate and the need for moving to a sustainable way of living. Demand for energy, demand to deal with the natural disasters, and transitioning to sustainable infrastructure is driving literally trillions annually. This presents enormous opportunity to rebuild the world in a way that works for society and that we want to be in for our children and grandchildren. And finally, this might be preaching to the choir, but for me, trained in very classic business, going to business school, this took a long time to realize. But what I realized is that not only are impact and profit not disjointed, they're actually highly aligned. It is really, really hard to have a big, big profitable business that doesn't cause impact. And it is actually really hard to have sustainable, impactful impact if you don't build something with profit. All these things, all these observations led me to start Avila. Avila is a venture firm. We are focused on backing foundational companies of our $100 trillion economy, which has to move from the way it is now to sustainable in as short order as possible. What we do is we do early seed to A investments we have very high conviction in. So who am I and how did I come to this? One of my superpowers to do this is to combine two important aspects of my experience and upbringing. On the one hand, I feel very privileged to have learned the craft of investing, sitting under Midas list investors in Silicon Valley, understanding how to do backing companies such as Facebook when it was the foundations of how Silicon Valley operated in this new economy. I have built a strong network, and my relationships and my experience allow me to source, to pick, and to win the right companies to put into the portfolio. But I feel equally important is my background and my current way of operating, which is I was born and raised in Venezuela. I was an engineer, and I have lived outside of the bubble. The combination of being within and without brings a unique perspective to investing. Sustainability is an issue that touches every asset class, every geography, and every aspect of our economy, and coming at it with a perspective that is 1 foot in and 1 foot out has really allowed me to arrive early to the right thesis and the right companies. I've been investing for 20 years, but doing this thesis for almost a decade now. I'm incredibly grateful that I was able to back early some of the leading companies in the space, like Commonwealth doing nuclear fusion, Carbon Engineering doing carbon removal, and 12 doing sustainable aviation fuels, just to name a few. And in aggregate, have been able to deliver top decile returns to my investors for years. Avila, which is a 2-year-old venture firm, is off to the races. Our portfolio has 12 small investments, and I think they have as much or higher potential as my prior crop of companies. They span from distributed hydropower to next-gen 3D printing to electric scooters in Latin America and many other things in between. If this is something that resonates with you and of interest, please reach out. There is no better time than now to allocate capital with conviction to build the economy of tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, SOCAP. I'm so excited to be here, and this is my first SOCAP, and I've just been inspired by everyone's enthusiasm and energy. And my name is Justin Ashton. I'm the co-founder and GP for Redwood's Climate Capital. And I'm excited to introduce you today to a fund that we're launching, which will be a $75 million fund one, investing in early stage climate and deep tech startups that specifically are positioned to scale their climate impact by the early 2030s. And adding that last bit, the temporal domain, I think many of you here at SOCAP will understand is critical in the fight to decarbonize our global economy. So by way of introduction, both my partner and I started our careers as serial entrepreneurs. And we're successful entrepreneurs, specifically in climate tech, which we used to call clean tech when we started. I'll introduce my partner, Mark Platchen, first. He was a co-founder of BMW's corporate venture capital fund called iVentures, which turned out to be a top decile returning fund, even though it was meant to be a strategic corporate investment fund. He also had 10 years before that as a financial VC, also in climate and deep tech. His background at Stanford and formerly as a US Navy officer, nuclear officer, is something that we share, as we're both proud military veterans. Myself, I started my career as an electrical engineer and then joined the US Air Force before going back to business school at MIT Sloan. And I started my first company shortly thereafter, which ended up becoming the leader in the electrification of commercial fleet vehicles, a company called XL Fleet. Mark and I both have 2 public exits from companies that we co-founded and led, as well as a few acquisitions in other companies as well. But we also bring a top-tier investment track record to our work within clean tech and climate tech over many market cycles, hype cycles, and different industries. We've invested over $110 million in category leaders, names that you'll see up here. If you can believe it, some of you might remember Tesla was not a sure bet, when it was a private company. Most recently, we've invested in a couple fusion companies, including one called Commonwealth Fusion, which you heard Patty speak to. We're co-investors in that, which is another category leader and really a company that's poised to potentially shape humanity. So why is 2030 a critical year on the path to decarbonize? Well, we've all heard of SBTI and their efforts to help corporations align their impact and reductions with plans that can reduce their emissions by 50%. So we're investing in startups that are going to help those businesses achieve those goals. And because corporations are really ramping up their activity to meet those goals, as well as governments, there's trillions of dollars that are needed in investment every year. In fact, we're behind and we think that number is low. So what do we invest in? We invest in specifically looking for companies that are fast, that have tech and business models that can scale fast. We're also looking for transformative plays that can bend the curve, as well as enabling technologies, which may be horizontal in other industries that can be applied to climate. And we're not investing in science projects. I've got a couple deals to show. I'm running out of time, so I'll breeze through them. One is a food waste composting startup in LA that builds and owns scalable urban composting infrastructure and provides the critical missing infrastructure for not only California, but other states to achieve their food waste diversion goals. We also invested in Type 1 Energy, another nuclear fusion startup, our second bet this year, with a world-class team and a slightly different reactor design than Commonwealth. Another example for our enabling technology, we invested in Canara, an edge AI silicon company, which is enabling AI in all devices in a small form factor, power efficient, and low cost. So in summary, we're raising a $75 million Fund 1 with commitment from JPMorgan, and we're looking to meet more aligned LPs, family offices, institutions, and corporates. Please reach out. That's my QR code to my LinkedIn. If you do reach out that way, please put SOCAP so I can prioritize follow-up. We also have open SPV opportunities in the short term before the fund closes. Thank you.